Customizing tool palettes in AutoCAD offers several benefits to users. Efficiency. Customizing tool palettes allows users to organize commonly used commands, blocks, and tools in a convenient location, making them easily accessible. This saves time by reducing the need to navigate through the ribbon or remember specific command names. Workflow optimization. Users can tailor tool palettes to match their specific workflow or project requirements. This customization enables a more efficient and streamlined design process by placing frequently used tools at the user's fingertips. And finally, consistency. Customized tool palettes promote consistency across projects and among team members. By standardizing the tools and commands available in the palette, users ensure that everyone follows the same procedures and uses the same resources, which can enhance collaboration and reduce errors. This video will demonstrate some of the methods used for creating, exporting, and importing tool palettes in AutoCAD. Let's take a look at tool palettes and tool palette groups: creation, exporting, and importing. Tool palette basics. Tool palettes provide you with a combined method of accessing tools. Tool palettes can consist of commonly used blocks, hatch patterns, and commands. Creating a tool palette of commands allows you to store some of your most commonly used commands in one location. Hatch patterns can also be saved on a palette. When hatch patterns are saved on a palette, they'll include the layer, color, rotation angle, and scale set in the palette. The most common use for tool palettes are blocks. The main advantage with tool palette blocks are the property options. As with hatch patterns, you can control how the block is inserted, what layer, rotation angle, scale, and so on. Creating tool palettes is easy. Tool palettes are easy to create and organize. When you have libraries of blocks that you've created, you can use the Design Center to create a tool palette in one step. Let's look at tool palettes in AutoCAD and how they work. To access your tool palettes, you have a few different options. You can, of course, always type in the whole command name, tool palettes, okay, which will bring up the tool palettes. If you're old-fashioned like me, you can type in TP, enter, and it'll bring up the tool palettes. Or you can use Control-3 to launch your tool palettes. If you like to use the ribbon, you can go to the View tab and choose the Tool Palettes tool on the Palettes panel. However you get there, these are your palettes. Once you have your palettes on the screen, you can control how they appear. For example, if I go to the bottom, I can make the palette longer or shorter. And if I go to the corner here, I can change the width of the palette so that I can see more information about it. By using the bar on the right-hand side, I can click and drag and position the panel the palette wherever I want it to be. If I want to dock it to the side, I can right-click on the side, or on this, choose Allow Docking, and then I can say anchor it to the left or anchor it to the right. So if I anchor it to the right, you'll see that it automatically uses the Auto Hide function so that it's not out, and it'll actually pop out when I bump into it and I want to pick whatever the tool is that I want to use. Now, other tool palettes that you might be familiar with are things like layers. So here's my layers, and if I want to dock this one over here as well, I can right-click on this, and I can say anchor it to the right, and now you can see that I've got my tool palettes and my layers. They're always on the screen so that I can get in there and manage them anytime I want. If I right-click one more time on there, you'll see that I have the option of icons only or text only. Text only is where it's set now. If I choose icons only and I move away, they're still docked to the right, but they're only docked by this icon. So if I want to look at my tool palettes, I have to go to that icon. And if I want to look at my layers, I have to go to that icon. Of course, if I don't want it docked, I can simply right-click uncheck allow docking and it moves it out. I can change whether it auto hides by clicking on there. And then if I go to the settings option here, I can change all kinds of settings like transparency and that kind of stuff. So if I wanted to make it so that when I'm not using it, and when I am using it. Okay, so for example, I want it to be 100% solid, completely opaque when I'm using it, but when I'm not using it, I want it to fade out, so I can turn that way down and say okay. So now while I'm working, it's going to be out of my way. It's kind of turned off, if you will, but when I move over here and I want to actually use it, it brightens up so that I can see what I'm using. That doesn't necessarily add to any of the productivity, but it's one of those things that you can do to change how it works for you. Now, looking at the palettes themselves, along the left-hand side are all of the different palettes. So these are the architectural blocks that are often used. Then you have some mechanical blocks and some civil blocks and so on. If you come all the way down to the bottom down here, you'll see that it looks like there are several palettes all stacked up. If I click on that, it gives me a list of all of the tool palettes that I have in my project here. So I could say, oh, I want to look at the draw palette, in which case it brings up the palette that has all of the draw tools, the same as all of these tools over here. If I want to look at the modify palette, I can click on modify and it does the same thing. There are also groups of palettes. So if I right click on the right side over here, you'll see down at the bottom there are groups of palettes. So if I go to the 3D Make group, for example, you'll see that there are 3 palettes. There's Draw and Modify and Modeling. So if I'm in the 3D Make workflow, I can have just these palettes up that are the palettes or maybe the tools that I feel like I need to use all the time. If I want to see all my palettes, I can simply go back to All Palettes again. Now where this becomes really handy is, again, I can create my own palette and I can put whatever tools I want onto this palette. So to create your own palette, you'll right click and you'll choose New Palette. You'll see that it creates a new blank palette, gives you the opportunity to name this palette. I will call it First Palette. And now it's ready for me to add anything that I want. So let's first of all look at placing commands on a tool palette. If I wanted, for example, the polyline command, I could place the polyline command on here, but unfortunately I can't just click on this and drag it over. It won't work. So if I want to place a regular command on the tool palette, you come over to that right side again, right click your mouse, and you're going to choose Customize Commands. When you choose the Customize Commands, the CUI comes up, and here we have a list of all of the commands available in AutoCAD. There's a lot of them. But I said I wanted polyline. So I'll click in this box, and I'll say polyline. And you'll see that all of my polyline commands come up. And I want just the regular old polyline command, this one here. So I'll click and hold, and then drag it over and drop it. If I wanted also, let's say, the erase command, I can click and hold, drag, and drop. Okay. Now I'm going to close this for a moment. You'll notice that when I created my placed my 2 commands on here, erase and polyline, the polyline command here looks a little bit different from the command here. And the difference is, notice that it has a little flyout on it. If I click on that little flyout, not only do I have the polyline tool, but it also has line, arc, circle, ellipse, and so on. Okay, so we'll look at that. But if I want to use polyline now, I can simply come in here and it works just like the polyline command does, as if I were using it up here. If I wanted to erase that, I can say erase and pick, and so again, it works just like the regular polyline or erase command would off of my regular menu. But this is where things get a little bit more powerful. If I right click on this command and I look at the properties, you'll see that there's some information here. For example, polyline, it creates a 2-dimensional polyline, And then right here it says use the flyout. That's that little triangle that allows me to choose other commands. In this case, I may not want that, so I could say, no, let's not allow that flyout. But some other things that I can do is, if I wanted this to make a polyline on a certain layer, I could come in here and I could specify that layer right here. Right now it says use current, which is what a polyline command does. But if I wanted to use it in any other command, or so that it was always on a certain layer, I could choose a different layer here. If I wanted it to be a specific line type, I could do that, plot style, line weight, and so on. So this is where you can set the properties so that it is a certain way. And so for example, if I wanted to change the color, I could come in here and I could say, let's make it yellow no matter what, yellow, and say okay. And I'm going to also come in here and change the name of this to yellow polyline, just so that I know that anytime I'm here, it's going to create a yellow polyline. You'll see that my layer is currently layer 0, which is white, but because I changed the properties, if I choose a yellow polyline, it's automatically going to choose and create a yellow polyline. If you decide you want to remove a tool from a tool palette, you can simply right-click on it and choose Delete, and then OK. Let's look at some other options. In this drawing here, I've got some layers already set up and that type of thing. And one of the ways that you can really save time is by putting an object on the tool palette that has some intelligence built into it. For example, if I wanted to create a new viewport using the viewport command, when I create this viewport, it creates it on the current layer, whatever that layer is. And then I have to remember to go in and select the viewport and change the layer to the proper layer. On the other hand, if I do that once, say, okay, let's create a new viewport, and I'll make it, whatever shape I want it to be. Go ahead and change the layer of that viewport as necessary. But now if I want that to be a tool on my tool palette, I can simply click on it once, click and hold, and then drag it to my tool palette, and you'll see that it puts that viewports command on my tool palette. If I right-click on the viewport command and go to properties, you'll see that it has, hey, viewports and that type of thing. But then when I come down here, you'll see that it automatically kept the layer that goes along with it. So the color is going, or the layer is going to be on that viewport layer no matter what. So when it's time to create a new one, again, notice that my text layer is current, or maybe I could even make like my section line layer current. But when I come in here to create my viewport, it's going to give me the option now to create my viewport wherever I want it to go, and it places it on the proper layer for me. So tremendous way to save time. Additionally, if I do something like, I'm going to create a rectangle and I'm going to put a hatch in here. So I'll say, let's add a hatch to that rectangle, and I'm going to change the pattern maybe to angles, and I'll change the scale to 1 and 0.75, and I'll change the rotation angle to 15. So I've made all of those changes. If this is a pattern that I use often, I can simply click it, click and drag, and drop it, and you'll notice that it puts that tool palette, it puts it on the tool palette for me. Again, if I right click on there, inspect the properties, you'll notice that it has all of those settings already set for me, so I don't have to go in and change those settings every time. And as with before, it's automatically going to be on that correct layer. So let's say I've got something maybe on my visible layer, I've got a circle that I want to hatch. All I have to do is click and say I want it applied to that area, and it automatically sets it all up. I don't have to go through and set any of those settings, so it lends to that consistency in that area. Once you have all of the tools on here that you want, if you want to add things like text and dividers, you can do that as well. I can right click on here and I can say I want to add text, and so maybe this is like blocks, okay, or added some more text, and I can say let's add, you know, like hatch patterns. It's very easy to modify these. I can put them wherever I want them to be, and so it's ready to go. Now, if I want to be able to share this with another computer, I need to export this palette. To export a palette, you'll simply go to the right side over here on the menu side, right click your mouse, and choose Customize Palettes. You'll find the tool palette that you want to export on the left hand side. So I created this one, and what did we call it? My first palette. Okay, so go down here, and here it is. There's first palette. So there's the palette that I created. I can right click on that, and now I can choose export. When I export those, you want to have a place for it to go that you know where it is. So I'm going to put it on my desktop, and just to make sure that I am staying organized, I'm going to create a folder called palettes. So when I choose this first palette, it's going to export it as an XTP, an exported tool palette. So I'll choose Save and Close. And now if I go to my desktop, you will see that I have a tool palette here. Okay, here's the tool palette that it created, that XTP file, and then it created another folder, and inside that folder are some images, and the images that it created are for the angles, whether it's got a dark background or a light background. Okay, so this is very important to have. When you export that tool palette, this is the XTP file, it has to be stored in the same place as this folder and all of those images that go along with it. If they're not stored in the same place, it won't work. Now to finish this out, let's say that I've got some tool palettes that I want to import. Maybe I created them in another place. I can do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to right click on this right hand side again, and I'm going to go to Customize Palettes, and I'm going to, on the left hand side, I'm going to first import the palettes that I want. So I'm going to right click on here, choose Import, and I want to import some palettes that I've created in the past. So I'll go down here to where they're created, and I've got these 4 palettes: Dynamic, Electronics, Ladders, and Trees. I have to import them, unfortunately, one at a time. It won't allow me to import them all at once. But as I go here, I can say I want to import these, so I'll just repeat this process a few times. So now all of those tool palettes that I had created before are already in here, and if I choose Close, you'll see that they're here. So here's some trees that I've created. Here are some blocks that I've created, you know, for different types of drawings and that kind of stuff. More blocks, and even more blocks, okay, depending on what it is that you've got going on. Now, the other thing I can do is I can import a tool palette group. Maybe I want all 4 of those tool palettes that I just created to be on their own group. Again, I will right click on the right hand side over here, go to Customize Palettes. Then on the right side over here, right click your mouse, choose Import, and I want to navigate to where those are created. So again, 20B, tool palettes. And now this is my tool palette group XPG. I had created this before, so I'll say open that. It creates it there. Notice that it does not automatically populate that group with tools or tool palettes, but now that it's here, I can just simply drag these over and put them in the order that I want them to be. Once they're here, I can choose close, and if I right click on the right side over here, choose my 20B group, now I've got my special group with only those tool palettes that I want, that I'm going to be using for my workflow. A few points to consider when exporting and importing tool palettes. When you export a tool palette or a tool palette group, keep these points in mind. Exported tool palette, when you create that exported tool palette, an image folder with the same name is created in the same location as the XTP file. This folder contains the images for user-created content tools and command tools with user-defined images. Avoid copying tool palette files between different product releases. Doing so can cause potential problems when migrating to a future release. If you import a tool palette or tool palette group, keep these points in mind. When you import a customized tool palette, the image folder must be in the same location as the imported XTP file in order for the icons to appear in the tool palette. Tool palettes can be used only in the product release which they were created. However, you can migrate tool palettes from previous releases to the current release using the Migrate Custom Settings box. Finally, if you share tool palettes with someone who's not using the same AutoCAD-based product or release in which they were created, the tools might not work properly.